April 1945. Berlin was a city of ruins. Smoke covered the sky like a dark ocean. Every street echoed with the sound of collapse. Germany was falling apart. But deep beneath the chaos, something else was being born. In a bunker carved into the rock under Wavelsburg Castle, a small group of scientists worked in silence. They were building something the world had never seen before. They called it Projekt Zeitkern, the Time Core. The project was led by a physicist named Dr. Otto Weiss. He was 50 years old, thin, pale, and almost ghostly in his manner. He rarely spoke, but when he did, people listened. Weiss believed that time wasn't a straight line. He said time was a current, a wave that could be folded. He believed that with the right frequency, you could bend time back on itself, not to travel through it, but to replay it, to reset a moment. To the SS officers who funded him, this was salvation. They thought if they could turn back even a single day, they could change the war. So they gave him everything he wanted: men, machines, power, and a bunker so deep it didn't exist on any map. Inside that hidden chamber, Weiss and his engineers built the time engine. It was enormous, 12 meters tall, made of steel and tungsten. At its heart was a spinning core, a sphere of silver and mercury that never stopped moving. It was surrounded by copper coils, hundreds of them, each tuned to a different frequency. When it powered on, the entire chamber vibrated. The air itself felt heavier. One soldier wrote in his diary, "When it runs, it feels like the world is breathing through metal." For months, they tested small objects: a watch, a bullet, a bird. Each time, the object disappeared for a second and came back slightly changed, colder, heavier, older. Weiss believed they were touching the edge of another moment, a second of time that had already happened. He called it temporal reflection. He said if they could expand it, they could bend all of time inside their machine. But something else began to happen. At night, when the engine was off, guards heard noises, a soft hum, sometimes whispers, words that didn't make sense. One guard swore he heard someone say his name. Another claimed to see light under the door when the chamber was sealed. Weiss told them it was nothing, just the machine releasing static energy. But even he began to look afraid. By late April, the Allies were closing in. Berlin was surrounded. Every general knew the end was near, but Weiss begged for one last test. He said he could fold one entire minute backwards. He said he could undo it and prove that time could be reversed. On the night of April 27th, 1945, the SS approved his request. 7 scientists entered the chamber. 2 guards stayed outside. At 11:42 p.m., they powered on the time engine for the final time. The hum began low. Then it grew. The floor shook. The lights flickered, then turned blue. One guard shouted he felt pressure in his ears, like the air itself was bending. Then a flash. Pure white light, blinding. When it cleared, the door had blown open. Inside the chamber, no one. No scientists, no Dr. Weiss. Just the machine. Still spinning. Still humming. On the far wall, burned into the metal, were 6 numbers. 30.04. 1945. April 30th, 1945. 3 days later, the day Hitler died. The guards reported it immediately. Hours later, Allied artillery hit the area. The castle collapsed, and Projekt Zeitkern was buried beneath tons of stone. Weeks later, American troops arrived. Among them was Captain Miles Harland from the U.S. Army's Technical Intelligence Unit. Their team specialized in seizing advanced German technology. They'd heard rumors of strange experiments in the castle, but nothing prepared them for what they found. Beneath the rubble, they discovered the chamber, mostly intact. Inside was the time engine, still humming, faintly. Harland wrote in his notebook, "It's warm, still munning." No power source connected. The metal vibrates like it's alive. They photographed everything: blueprints, documents, symbol drawn in chalk. Weiss's journal. But much of it made no sense. The equations didn't match known physics. Some pages looked as if they'd been rewritten dozens of times. Others were blank, except for a single word, repeated again and again. Zurück. Return. That night, one of Harland's men, Corporal Danvers, went missing. His bed was empty. No signs of struggle. Only one thing left behind, another number scratched into the bunker wall. 1953. The next morning, Harland ordered the machine dismantled. But when engineers tried to stop the spinning core, it resisted. Every tool broke. Welding torches flickered and died. The air around the sphere shimmered like heat rising off desert sand. One scientist said it was generating a localized field of time distortion. He compared it to a clock running in two directions at once. They sealed it in lead and loaded it onto a military truck. By summer 1945, the machine had been moved to the United States. Destination Nevada, a classified research site later known as Site Echo. Weiss was declared dead, though his body was never officially recovered. Only one corpse was found in the chamber, badly decomposed, but still warm to the touch. The medical report said the tissue decay didn't match the date of death, as if time itself had passed differently inside the body. Years passed. The machine sat silent in a warehouse, but the soldiers guarding it said they could still feel vibrations through the floor. One man said his watch always lost 1 second whenever he stood near it. Another said he heard a low pulse, like a heartbeat. Then, in 1957, a team of American scientists reopened the crate. When they removed the cover, the sphere was still spinning. No electricity, no power source, just motion. Slow, constant, unstoppable. They ran a Geiger counter. No radiation, no magnetism, but every clock in the room began to tick faster. 1 second became 2. 2 became 3. Then all stopped at once. They shut it down and sealed it again. But one of the scientists, Dr. Howard Ames, kept studying Weiss's notes. He said Weiss was never trying to build a time machine. He was trying to create an echo, a reflection of time that loops forever, an engine that traps a moment and keeps it alive. Then came the film reel, recovered from a German archive in 1961. It was labeled Temporal Versuch, April 1945. The footage showed Weiss and his team standing before the machine. They looked calm, focused. As the core began to spin, the camera shook violently. The light turned white. Everything vanished except Weiss. He looked straight into the lens. His lips moved. 2 words. Don't stop. The film ended abruptly, but the next frame showed something strange. Not the lab, not the men. A street, destroyed buildings, and a newspaper blowing in the wind. The headline read, "War Over." The reel was dated 3 days before that headline was ever printed. No one could explain it. The footage was locked away. The machine buried deeper than before, under layers of concrete in a silent vault. But guards still report the hum, a low, rhythmic pulse, sometimes faint, sometimes loud enough to make glass tremble. They say it sounds like breathing. Others claim they hear voices, muffled, whispering from behind the wall. One word, again and again. Return. And every few years, the hum grows stronger. then fades. Like something waking up, counting down. Some believe Weiss succeeded, that the time engine really did fold a moment in half, that his team isn't gone. They're trapped between seconds, caught in the loop forever, waiting for time to open again. No one knows for sure, but the engineers who sealed the vault left a final note on the door. It read, "Do not enter. Temporal distortion field still active. Subjective time inside may not match outside reality." That was written in 1982. Yet, one camera still monitors the site. A faint light flashes once every 6 hours.
It was 2024. The vault had been sealed for 42 years. No one had entered since 1982. Until now. The operation was called Echo Recovery, a joint scientific mission between the United States and Germany. Their goal was to examine the sealed chamber under Nevada desert and study what remained of Project Zeitkern. Dr. Emily Clark led the team, astrophysicist, brilliant, calm, methodical. She specialized in quantum field distortions, and she'd been obsessed with the legend of the time engine for years. When she arrived at Site Echo, the place looked abandoned. Concrete walls, rusted doors, warning signs faded by time. Yet the hum was still there, soft, steady, pulsing from deep below. The elevator descended for nearly a minute. The air grew colder. Their breath turned to mist. Inside the vault, a metal door stood sealed with 10-inch bolts. Painted across it, in red letters, "Do not open." Dr. Clark ordered radiation checks. None detected. Magnetic field? Normal. Vibration? Low, but constant. Something below them was still moving. It took 6 hours to unseal the door. As it opened, warm air rushed out, as if the bunker had been holding its breath for decades. Inside, everything was exactly as the reports described. The massive machine, the coils, the sphere, silent now, covered in dust, yet untouched by corrosion. And the faint hum, still there, almost like a heartbeat, hidden behind the silence. They set up sensors around the core. Temperature, motion, electromagnetic spectrum. Every reading was normal. Too normal. The instruments picked up no vibration, but the scientists could feel it through the floor. Dr. Clark stood before the machine. Its surface gleamed faintly under the lights. She said quietly, "If this thing really bent time, then it's still doing it." They connected cables to the base and scanned for residual energy. The computers showed something impossible, a repeating frequency loop oscillating every 3.7 seconds. It wasn't sound. It wasn't electromagnetic. It was something else, a signal traveling through time itself. Dr. Clark ordered the recording of the pulse. She asked her assistant, Dr. Nguyen, to compare it with archived data. The result came back shocking. The frequency pattern was identical to one recorded in 1945 from the last test of the original time engine. They checked it twice, 3 times. Every measurement matched, as if the machine had never stopped. Hours later, they decided to restart the power grid, not to activate the machine, but to test the wiring. When electricity flowed into the bunker, the lights flickered. A deep vibration spread through the floor. Then the sphere began to move, slowly, gently, as if waking up. Dr. Clark froze. She said, "No one touch it." But it was too late. The rotation increased by itself. Monitors spiked. Temperature rose by 2 degrees. The air began to shimmer. Every camera started recording static, and then something appeared on the central monitor. A face. Blurry. Grainy. But human. For a fraction of a second, they saw the image of a man. Older. Bald. With round glasses. Dr. Weiss. The video log confirmed it. The signal wasn't external, it came from inside the sphere, as if something inside was sending an image through time. Panic broke out. Half the team wanted to shut everything down. The others wanted to continue. Dr. Clark chose to observe. The sphere stabilized after 7 minutes. It continued spinning, emitting a faint golden light. All external power was cut, yet it kept going, self-sustained, autonomous. Then something else happened. All clocks in the room began to drift, not forward, not backward. They simply disagreed with each other. One clock read 10:17, another read 10:15, then 10:13. Time itself had lost synchronization. Dr. Clark whispered, "It's creating a temporal bubble." She realized the chamber wasn't in normal time anymore. It was surrounded by a field, a loop repeating the same seconds again and again. The team set up an experiment. Dr. Nguyen placed a laser pointer aimed at a mirror across the room. They measured the light return time. Normally, it should take 0.000003 seconds. Now, it took 0.000006 seconds. The beam had slowed. Inside the field, light itself was bending. Hours passed. No one left the room. They couldn't tell how long they'd been there. Some said 5 hours, others said 20 minutes. Their watches showed different times. Then the lights flickered again. The hum deepened, and every computer monitor displayed the same 6 numbers. 30.04, 1945. The date burned into the bunker wall in Germany 80 years earlier. The power went out. Emergency lights glowed red. The machine kept spinning, faster now, and the temperature dropped suddenly, freezing air pouring through the vents. The recording showed electrical interference forming patterns in the air, like faint shapes, almost human. Standing beside the sphere, still, watching. Dr. Clark yelled to shut it down manually, but every switch had locked. One engineer hit the emergency cutoff. Nothing changed. The sphere continued spinning, now brighter, almost transparent. And then, for the first time, it spoke. A low mechanical voice came through the intercom, broken, static-filled, repeating one sentence. Time must return. The team froze. The voice wasn't generated by their system. It came from inside the chamber microphone, the one not connected to any active circuit. Dr. Clark tried to respond. She said, "Who is this?" No answer. Just the same phrase. Time must return. Then all at once, everything stopped. The sphere froze in place. The hum vanished. The lights flickered back on, and the readings flatlined. Dr. Clark looked at her wristwatch. It was 2:13 a.m., but outside the bunker, it was still 11:45 p.m. They had lost nearly 3 hours inside, yet the external security footage showed the door had never opened. The recording from their internal cameras was worse. It ended abruptly mid-frame with no timestamp. 3 hours missing from every device. Dr. Clark ordered a full shutdown. The machine was sealed again. Concrete poured over the chamber, but before leaving, she walked up to the sphere one last time. It looked motionless, cold, but when she touched it, it was warm. Her assistant asked if she felt it move. She nodded slowly. She said, "It's still running, just not here." Weeks later, when the team analyzed the data, they discovered the frequency pulse had changed. It was now synchronized to a new pattern, the exact time and date of the shutdown, as if the machine had recorded them. Dr. Clark refused to continue the project, but before she left SiteEcho, she filed a classified report. In her final note, she wrote, "The time engine isn't a machine that moves through time. It's a machine that remembers time."